everyone, you're welcome to The Insight. I am Bable Jonathan. In its economic and social impact assessment of the socio-political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, the World Bank demonstrated immense human, physical, and developmental impacts of the conflict on the population of the two English-speaking regions of the Republic of Cameroon. It also highlighted the growing pressure that the conflict placed on Cameroonians outside the two regions. The report says that the conflict has already caused permanent damage to the economies of the northwest and southwest regions. According to the World Bank, even if the conflict ended tomorrow, the regions will only be able to recover quarter or 3/4 of the pre-crisis productivity level due to the lasting damage inflicted by the disruption of infrastructure and the destruction of human capital through death and displacement. And this is why a prime ministerial decree of 2nd September 2019 identified the northwest and southwest regions of the country as economic disaster zones, adding to the far north region afflicted by security challenges. Also, in the midst of this challenging situation, the Southwest Development Authority has continued in its mission of seeking for ways to raise the standard of living of the population through agricultural development and the improvement of infrastructures like roads, markets, water, and electricity supply. What has been done so far? What is being done now? What is yet to be done? We're going to be looking at this in this edition of The Insight. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is Dr. Bisong Tui Agok. He is the Director General of the Southwest Development Authority, Soweto. Mr. Director General, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, what is the developmental state of the Southwest region today?
Well, the developmental state, like you said in your introductory word, I think the Southwest development has been facing enormous challenges since the onset of the socio-political crisis, which is already more than 5 years and counting. And but that notwithstanding, I think the region has shown a lot of resilience. Not to downplay that the impact has not been really severe, but really resilience that I believe that we can pick up from the bits and pieces that we still have of the region. And we already see that, we have seen that happening because with the gradual return to normalcy in some parts of the region, you can see that the economy is really picking up and is buoyant. You take, for instance, the Buea municipality, things are actually happening there. You see a lot of construction going on, you see traffic and a lot of businesses that are striving. And I believe that if that security should return to the rest of the region, that would be the same scenario. Maybe the word to say that, that the region has suffered permanent damage may be too strong. Permanent means more or less like irreversible. I think it's reversible, and it just we just need to show some courage and determination. And if we have the security is reinstated, like I said earlier, in most of the other towns of the region, that situation will be reversed, and surprisingly, it may be done in less time than people will imagine.
Permanent damage, maybe in terms of human capital lost to death,
okay,
for example.
Yes.
Now, away from the urban centers of Buea, right, Kumba, Limbe, and others, what's the situation of the remote areas, the hinterlands?
Well, the hinterlands, I think, is still very, very precarious in most of the hinterlands because access is not very reassuring. But gradually we are beginning to see some inroads into some of those areas. People are beginning to understand that this cannot go on forever.
In terms of infrastructure and other developmental aspects,
Right.
how much of destruction has the region suffered for the past more than 5 years today?
In terms of infrastructure, the region has suffered quite a lot. Maybe if you look at, especially in the area of rural development, most of the so-called the farm-to-market roads or municipal roads, as they are often referred to, they have not had attention for the last 5 years. And it's true, traffic has also been low, but those who continue to ply those roads, if they are, I mean, the situation is really bad. And some of them, the roads are overgrown and really become impassable because generally most of those rural areas have but F roads. So the situation is quite serious.
Tell us more about how much the crisis has obstructed developmental efforts, notably some of the things that the Southwest Development Authority and other stakeholders would have done but are unable to do till today because of the prevailing unstable situation.
I think there is no gainsaying in misstating that the crisis has been severe on the developmental efforts of the country, of the region, two regions of course. And I think that is why even the head of state has put in place the PPRE, that's the Presidential Plan for the Reconstruction and Development of the Southwest and Northwest regions. And so that has hindered, I mean, children in most of the rural areas have not been going to school. But this year we are happy to note a very significant increase in the numbers of children that were able to go to school, even in some of the areas that one would have thought that maybe they were not schools functioning there. In addition to that, we are also seeing the gradual return of internally displaced persons. People are going back to their villages and opening their farms, and so production is picking up at the level of some of our activities. Southwest Development Authority being a people-oriented establishment and looking at fighting poverty, we are also seeing the communities mobilizing. Last year we were able to collaborate with the divisional delegation of the Ministry of Public Works, and we were able to do the road from Tomé to Bangen.
We certainly,
the collaboration
we certainly,
we had with the population.
Mr. GM, we'll certainly talk more about that
Right.
in the later part of the program.
Right.
You mentioned that in some of the areas, especially the remote areas, the developmental situation is quite precarious.
Yeah.
The case of the Indian division seems to be peculiar. The only way to get to that part of the Southwest directly now being the sea. And there's this problem that has been there. And what's the problem with the Indian division? What's making it difficult for a road to be established, or the road that is existing, the national road, to be constructed?
Recently, the government has engaged the military engineering corps to take over that project from Kumba to Ekondotiti and eventually to Mondemba. So we hope that that project will go ahead and the road will be reopened to active traffic, because there is some minimal traffic, but of course most people are not using the road because of insecurity, and they prefer to use the sea to either get to Ekondotiti or to Mondemba. Let's not forget the unfortunate incidences that have happened in recent times, being like the killing of the divisional officer in Ekondotiti, or the teachers in the school and children. They scare everyone, and that tends to affect every initiative that people want to take. But like I said earlier, I think the people of the two regions, and speaking for the Southwest region, people have shown resilience, and it is absolutely necessary that we continue to demonstrate that resilience, because without it, we cannot give up. It is our country, it is our region, and if we have to go forward, we must be determined to resolve our differences in another way, rather than destroying, like it has been the case for the last 5 years and counting. And like you said, especially when it comes to human capital that we are losing. We are not only just losing human capital in terms of people who are being killed, we are also losing even the future generation, when children are not given the opportunity to go to school, what will they grow up to become? So those are some of the...
And of course the hundreds of thousands who have moved across the border to neighboring Nigeria.
Yes, but I'm sure that those will eventually return. Sure.
Right. In 2016, some sons and daughters of the Indian division wrote a letter, an open letter to the President of the Republic, drawing his attention to what they qualify as the catastrophic and unacceptable state of the national road running from Kumba in the Meme division to Ekondo Titi, Mundemba in the Indian division, and so on. And today, the situation is still almost the same, even though the military engineering unit has now been engaged. Now,
but you remember?
Yes.
You remember that I think it was in 2018 or 2019, the road was already contracted out, and I think it was a Tunisian company that was working on that road until some of their workers were kidnapped, and that is what caused that project to stop. So government had already initiated action to build that road. I mean, we're talking here about tarring the road. That was already in progress before it was stopped by this crisis.
And so now the people can hope that in the nearest future they'll be able to use that road.
I am sure, because if anybody who doesn't have hope is a dead person. But so I think that the people of the region still remain very hopeful and trusting government action, and that's why, for instance, the Military Engineering Corps has been engaged recently, and of course, now being the rainy season, not much may be done. So we are definitely expecting that come the next dry season, work will definitely begin there in earnest.
In some of the urban centers like Limbe, for example, Limbe 3 in particular, right, the roads are very deplorable. And with the rainy season, the people are having more or less a nightmare using their roads there.
Well, for the urban centers, I may not be in a position to say much, but all of these are under the various, like you take Limbe, there is a city council. That is handling that. We also have the Ministry of Urban Affairs that also comes to their support. Of course, there are also the municipal councils that are there, 3. There's Limbe 1, 2, and 3, and I think that is definitely their responsibility to address some of those urban problems. But again, in as much as we are seeing a gradual pickup of economic activities in some parts of the region, and Limbe inclusive, we still must remember that even the councils make money only from economic activities, and with all the internally displaced persons, businesses folding up, that definitely affects the council revenue as well. But we are hopeful that things will gradually improve for the better.
All right, we're going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week.
Right.
And when we come back, we'll talk about what the Southwest Development Authority has been doing on the ground to improve on the living standards, to improve on infrastructure and other issues that will enhance the living conditions of the people of the Southwest region. Stay with us.
The Post-Weekender reports another explosion in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, leaving one person injured at the Mokolo market. In the Post, Human Rights Watch contradicts government, saying soldiers opened fire on civilians unprovoked and killed 9 of them in Misong, northwest region of Cameroon. The rights group demands the publication of investigation results. While the conflict rages on, Cameroon Insider and the Horizon say government's plan to reconstruct and develop the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon has recorded huge progress in 18 months, qualified by Chronicle Times as major gains. Municipal Updates exclaims over a multi-billion franc CFA boost of the recovery plan. But according to the Guardian Post, France disappears after pledging a 40 billion franc CFA support for the reconstruction plan. As reported by Herald Tribune, the national coordinator of the presidential reconstruction plan, Minister Paul Tasson, is urging France to release the 40 billion francs CFA promised in 2019. Meantime, the committee headed by the Chief of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's Office, Ebune Confiance, reviews the plan's execution rate. In the same vein, municipal updates highlights roads, if developed, will revive economic growth in the northwest and southwest regions. It is reported in Echo Outlook that deadly floods provoked havoc in Limbe, Mutengene and Tiko, southwest region of Cameroon. The Guardian Post and Municipal Updates reports that because of the fuel scarcity hitting Cameroon's political capital Yaoundé and looming price hike, hundreds of vehicles and bikes are grounded. While Cameroon Insider outlines government's backup measures, Municipal Updates focuses on government action to arrest the fuel scarcity. On government's decision to disburse 10 billion francs CFA to boost wheat production in Cameroon, the Guardian Post digs out similar huge agricultural projects that failed. In the same issue of the paper, Chief Banjon III heads to the Supreme Court to challenge a decision considered as an attempt to wipe out Mwankang chiefdom. And finally, the Cameroon government introduces the biometric vaccination card for international travelers.
Thank you for staying with us. Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. I said it earlier, the Southwest Development Authority, despite the challenging socio-political and security situation, has been continuing with its mission, that of improving on the living conditions of the people of the southwest region of the country, and of course improving on the state of infrastructures like roads, markets, water and electricity supply. Mr. Director, tell us more about the missions of the Southwest Development Authority.
Like you rightly pointed out, the Southwest Development Authority is there to alleviate poverty in the region, and it's a government instrument put in place in 1987 through a presidential decree, and just based on its own, the establishment cannot do as much. And one of the strategies that the establishment has been using over the years is to formulate high-impact projects. And after its creation in 1987, in 1992, the first project started. That is the Integrated Rural Development Project. And after that project, we had in 2002 the Livestock and Fishery Development Project, which ended in 2007. And in 2005, just when the Livestock and Fishery Development Project was about to end, there was also the Rumpy Area Participatory Development Project. All of these three projects have made huge contributions in the development of the rural communities of the Southwest region, be it in the construction and rehabilitation of what is often referred to as farm-to-market roads. Some people may not remember, but because of the nature of these roads, which are usually F roads, and they have a lifespan of only about maybe 3 years or so, and then they deteriorate again. But the establishment has, in most cases, been constructing permanent drainage facilities like bridges. And at the moment, we have another important project which is ongoing, which just started in 2019 in the heart of this crisis, and that project is doing quite enormous work. So if you go by what the establishment has done, I would say it's been quite enormous. It's been quite enormous. We not only build infrastructure, we accompany farmers in their agricultural activities in terms of providing improved planting material, in terms of building marketing infrastructure, for instance, rural markets, farm gate hangers. You remember some years back, the Cameroon cocoa was labeled as poor quality because of the smoky taste of the cocoa, and this was as a result of smoke contamination of that cocoa. And the Southwest region has been the #1 cocoa producing basin of Cameroon for several years, until this crisis came in, when most of our farmers abandon their farms, some of them who manage to stay, those who are in the periphery of the region, like if I take the area of Cocoa Maningba, were selling their cocoa to the Mongo division of Littoral. Those in the area like Manu are selling their cocoa to Nigeria, and then our cocoa production started dropping. But over and above that, like if I just stay on cocoa, the Southwest Development Authority did quite a lot, supporting farmers, providing them hybrid cocoa seedlings, and constructing improved Samo cocoa ovens to cut off. And today we are no longer hearing people talk about the smoky taste of cocoa from Cameroon. That is largely because Soweto was involved in that project for the construction of cocoa ovens. Today we have moved from Samo cocoa ovens to constructing greenhouse solar dryers for cocoa. So because of some of the effects that we're seeing happening on the environment and climate change, because if you have to use fuel wood to dry cocoa, it has consequences. So now we're doing a greenhouse cocoa dryers. And the current project that we have, the AIVDP.
All right, we'll come to that shortly. Yeah, we'll come to that shortly. Yeah. I wanted to emphasize a little bit on that aspect of what you have done with regards to protecting the environment. Protecting the environment. You talked about greenhouse cocoa dryers. Tell us more about this. This is very important because at this time there's a serious pressure on the environment, on the global ecosystem.
Greenhouse cocoa dryers are small infrastructure built with plastic and built on the wooden frames, such that the farmer doesn't need to remove their cocoa when it's raining. So they dry the cocoa in a plastic shade, and it will stay there maybe for 2 days, and the cocoa is dry, without the farmer having to remove it when it's raining. So all the farmer needs to do is just to make sure that they turn the cocoa over and over from time to time, and the humidity is evaporated. And this is dried based on heat coming from the sun.
That goes a long way, definitely, to reduce the quantity of carbon dioxide released in the atmosphere. Just saying that the Southwest Development Authority has done a lot may not be very convincing in terms of infrastructural development, for example. Apart from what you've done in the area of cocoa production, what are some of the major achievements of Soweto for the past 30 years?
Yes, for the past 30 years. And we will need maybe a week only to talk about what Soweto has done continuously, non-stop. Yes, because so even the major ones, Soweto has been able to do quite a lot. And like I said, maybe I will just want to give you as just a tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg, I take the Rumpy Area Participatory Development Project, a project that was formulated and put in place by the Southwest Development Authority, executed from 2005 to 2012. That project, in addition to the thousands and millions of planting material that were made available to farmers in terms of infrastructure, they did 210 kilometers of road, farm to market roads, construction with permanent bridges, with drainage facilities such as culverts and gutters. They did 34 rural water schemes in different communities. Those 34 rural water schemes were serving about 50 different communities. They built health centers, they built markets, 30 rural markets. They built farm gate hangars, and of course they trained farmers. That is talking about capacity building. We had at the time a micro credit scheme in which 55 village banks, as they were called, were put in place. And by the time the project, and after the project ended in 2016, I use that as a reference point when the project had ended and the villagers, the communities were working on the micro project scheme. They were able to have an enrollment of over 18,000 members, mobilizing more than 1.6 billion francs of savings, their own money, and giving out loans for 1.2 billion francs. So those are, like I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. If we want to go back 30 years and look at what the Integrated Rural Development Project did, then you could also look at what the Livestock and Fishery Development Project did. Like I said, it's enormous. And unfortunately, some of the things that are done, like maybe even the earth roads, they are temporary roads because they will not last 30 years. But the drainage facilities, some of it they really will last even longer. Today, we have a project which is ongoing, and that project is going to rehabilitate 290 kilometers of road. We have already started with the rehabilitation of bridges. Over 94 linear meters of bridges have been rehabilitated. We have 30 rural markets being constructed, 30 farm gate hangars being constructed. And if you go in the area of agriculture, more than 3 million cassava cuttings have been given to farmers. A cutting of cassava, improved variety, goes for about 30 francs. But we're giving it to farmers at 1 franc. And this is to enable us fight the hunger, because farmers will be able to produce and they have enough food for their families. They will be able to also process and sell and make income for their families. In this project, which is ongoing, we have 2 semi-industrial cocoa processing units that are going to be put in place. We have 2 semi-industrial oil palm processing units that will put in place. We have 50 motor. I mean, I can just go on and on, like I said. Yes, but all of these things, one of the key things which is most important is sustainability. Yes, we have to get the beneficiaries, call them beneficiaries, to be part and parcel of these initiatives, such that when the projects, because projects come and go, so when the project eventually ends, these things are actually maintained and used properly so that they can continue to serve the people in the way that they were intended to do.
Despite all these efforts,
right,
which you're just highlighting now, just the tip of the iceberg,
right,
as you said,
right.
There's still a lot of trouble just everywhere. The case of roads, for example, there's still a lot of bad roads running through the Indian division, the Kupe Maninkwa division, the Meme division. I
agree with you 100%. In fact, I remember one time during one of our technical conversations, somebody said it, that if you ask a question to somebody from the Southwest, what do you need? What is the priority number 1? He will say road. What is number 2? He will say road. What is number 3? He will still say road. That is true, because the roads, not many of them are tarred. In the Southwest, we have the only tarred road is from maybe from the Mongo River to Limbe, and from Mutengene to Kumba, and now to Mamfe, and of course the Bamenda-Mamfe axis. We still have the Lum Kumba, Ekondo Titi Monda, which government has started with the segment from Kumba to Ekondo Titi before. That needs to be tarred. We still have the Bakebe, Menji, Chang. That still need to be tarred. We still have the Tombel, Bangem, Melong. That needs to be tarred. And then, of course, the rest of the other small roads as well. So, and again, with the crisis that we have been living for the last 5 or 6 years now, even the farm-to-market roads have not had any attention. And we can't blame anybody for not providing attention, because it has not been easy to penetrate those areas. We are working on a project, and even for us to study some of the roads that we are now launching tenders for those roads to be constructed, it took us far more longer than it was necessary because of the crisis, just for us to be able to study those roads. So the roads situation is still very, very precarious. That is the honest truth.
How much of the Southwest region have you been able to cover this far?
You mean as a project?
In terms of all the different projects, how much of the region?
I will say that it's not a systematic approach that we have to go village by village, but we definitely have covered the whole region. In all these years, there is no subdivision in the region that can say that Soweto has not carried out an activity over these years in that subdivision. There may be some villages that have not benefited. But like I said, our activities are quite varied, such that we reach out. If you don't benefit from roads, maybe you benefit from water. If you don't benefit from water, maybe you benefit from health because we do build health centers. If you don't benefit from health centers, you benefit from agriculture because you get planting material, you get training, you even get assistance from the credit component.
Approximately how many persons have benefited from some specific projects, like in the domain of agriculture and some other areas where you've assisted some people to be able to maybe assist other people and so on?
Yeah, I mean, for the rest of the region, I don't have that statistics. But now, going forward, what we're trying to do, like with the new project that we have a monitoring and evaluation system in which everybody, and today with the new technology that exists, we even are putting in place maps that we can eventually pinpoint and say, we have given planting material for maybe cassava, and we will tell you exactly which village, which farmer in which locality received that planting material. So we are getting towards that, but it will be difficult for me to pretend to give you a figure because, like I said, if we build a road and everybody who uses that road is a beneficiary, because once you use the road, it means you have, if we build a health center or we build even water, even elites who are not living in the villages will provide water in their villages. When they go there, they exploit that facility. They are benefiting from the activities of the Southwest Development Authority. Oftentimes, some people will say that, oh, they don't see what the establishment has done or is doing, because they don't seem to relate some of the things that they are even exploiting, not knowing that those things have been done by the Southwest Development Authority.
Now, apart from the security challenges, what are other difficulties that Soweto has been grappling with?
Oh, well, the difficulties are many, like you said, apart from the security itself, but we also have the fact that people have left some communities. It's a problem. Of course, the COVID-19 came and is gradually fading out. It came with its own challenges. Of course, in the absence, when projects are not there, like is the case now, we have just one project running, it's a challenge. And so government funding over the years is also dwindling. That is also an issue. And we're trying to find other means by making sure that the autonomous income raised by the establishment itself, we can try to step up that aspect. But again, we are faced by the fact that we are an administrative public establishment called upon to support, I would say, resource-poor farmers. And so you cannot actually make a lot of income by working with the poor as your client. That is why, for instance, we produce a planting material. I take the case of maize. A kilogram of seed maize is supposed to be sold for 1,000 francs, at least. We sell it to farmers for 300 francs. So you can see that directly we are not aiming at making money. We are aiming at solving the problem of the farmer. We have a cutting of cassava. It is sold at 30 francs, 35 francs. We sell it for 1 franc. We are not aiming at making money. We spend money. We supported the seed multiplication farm, CCSP as it's called, to maintain seed gardens over several years to produce cocoa. And what do? We take the cocoa pods and we give them to farmers for free, because we know that cocoa represents a strategic position in the GDP of this country. And so we have to build farmers. It is often said that if you are planning for 3 months, maybe you plant maize. But if you are planning for 25 years, plant cocoa, maybe plant oil palm. And so we're providing this support such that even when farmers get old, you can no longer maybe go to the farm. You can have your cocoa farm that you can give out to somebody, and you people can have a mutual agreement, and the person will pay you a certain percentage. You can have your oil palm farm that you can give out to somebody, and you continue to make income. Remember, most of these farmers, they don't have any retirement benefits, apart from the fact that they can be able to educate their children and hope that the children will come back and assist them at their old age.
How have you been managing to handle the security challenges? Earlier you said even the study of some of the roads
took us time.
You have engaged some. Were roads to be rehabilitated was quite difficult.
The security challenges, it still remains a challenge, and our coping mechanism is a secret, because if I put it in the open, then I put my collaborators who are going to the field in danger. So, but what has to be understood is that while we hope that things improve for the better, we definitely have coping strategies that we have developed, and allowing us to penetrate some of the relatively friendly areas. We have more or less, I would say, a mapping of the region. There are areas of high risk, and we try to caution our staff on how to go to those areas. For instance, I will take a simple example. I know this situation of security is not static. It's very, very volatile. You can have an area today that is a green area, and not long after it becomes something else. Last year we lost a bulldozer, which is still in the field today. We have not been able to recover it.
So the kill of the forest has been killed, has been neutralized. This is the one just behind me. Field Marshal, you know it very well. He has killed more than 400 persons in Lebi Alem, includes Meme Division. Today, he's the one laying there. Officially and openly, like state representative, to encourage our forces of law and order for the work well done. That one is a testimony that all those who are not willing to surrender are going to face our forces of law and order. The head of state gave the way out to all who remain in the bushes to lay down their arms and join the remaining population in the development of this country. And you can said it previously that let those who remain in the bushes lay down their arms and join the remaining country in this move of development.
I've been here for 40 years in this quarter, this very quarter, and this quarter is called Ngwele. Every year, every blessed year, this quarter is not safe. Every blessed year, and frankly, every blessed year, see, all over, all around, you see water, there's all water around. Automatically, we are suffering this quarter. Yes, we are suffering.
Granga, the situation this night is very difficult, dangerous.
We are here at Granga. Sincerely speaking, the nature of this environment is really despicable. I want to believe that the government is aware that the drainage system of Douala in particular is in high need of intervention.
We are at Carrefour Abattoir at Ndobo, and here you can see I'm having my father's slippers that I came right from inside so that he can like put on his shoes before going to work. And it's all because there's no town planification. You see, people build houses, they don't leave roads for gutters to pass, they build anywhere they want to build. So at least they should know what to do about it. The government should see into it. We are suffering here.
Many people here in this quarter, they have their houses here. They are not even tenant. Oh yes, many have their houses here, so they cannot abandon their house and go different side. So the only thing we help the government. We are trying to plead the government to help us friendly, to really help us, because now we are feeling bad. We don't look at if it is time of school period. You will see that children will not even be able to walk here.
You have more rains, but in a shorter time compared to what we had previously. When I was still young, 40 years ago, I'm not saying I'm 40, but when I was still young, we could have rains for 3 months, but now we're having rains 1 month, the next month we don't have rain, then we'll have rain. Like last year, we had rain the whole October, right? So it means that there is some modification in terms of the climatic condition. The amount of flood that we are witnessing today, especially in the littoral region, it's a problematic issue. A house is inundated, you will find it difficult to have those materials which people have invested. So it brings people back to square zero So people have to always strive to rebuild their life, but it is something which you can also involve psychologists, because once you get into the sort of thing where your house is gone, you at times there are people who are going mentally deranged because of all those things. So you could have health problems, but the major ones here, which I can just mention, is life loss and properties. Our own action, which is all about looking for land for construction, cutting of trees and all these other things, they contribute in one way or the other for some of these parameters which we are saying. If you go in the Rumpy area, you see clearly land reclamation. What do you expect that the water that they have removed there should go? So they have modified the water current. They must also associate those who have done oceanography, so that they can tell them how to cooperate and how to work together, so that in as much as to have a clear drainage.
Now I want to talk about the Agricultural Infrastructure Value Chain Development Project, the AIVDP, which has its main objective poverty reduction. So, Director, tell us about this.
The AIVDP, like you said, is a project that was formulated in 2017 and sponsored by the government and the Islamic Development Bank. The government is putting in 7%, the Islamic Development Bank is putting in 93% of the total project cost. It went operational in April of 2019, and it is expected to end in 2024. It's our main objective, of course, is, like you said, if you put it in the big caption, is fighting poverty, but it's also looking at inclusive growth. Inclusive growth in terms of ensuring that we put more money in the pockets of our farmers, especially, and many other actors who are in the rural world. And also there is the aspect of building the capacity of rural institutions to be able to carry out their own micro projects and implement them properly. And in all of that, our intervention is divided into 5 components. We have access to market, which involves infrastructure like roads, market infrastructure, agricultural processing equipment. Then we have agricultural production and productivity enhancement, which is providing improved planting material. And I did mention the aspect of developing an irrigation network in 200 hectares of arable land in the Kongle area. Then we also have support in terms of agrochemicals to farmers, as well as subsidized prices and other agri equipment. And then, of course, there is capacity building training. You cannot develop the people without also developing their skills. It's important that people gain skills, especially in the area of agriculture today, where agriculture is no longer expected to be done the way it used to be done by our parents and forefathers. People have to look at agriculture as a business, and also be able to do smart agriculture, because, like we mentioned, agriculture has an impact on the environment. And when you tamper with the environment, there are negative consequences as well, and one of them is climate change. And so we need to train our farmers on smart agriculture, and for them to show resilience to some of the effects of climate change.
This project was definitely provoked by the high rate, or if not the chronic level of poverty, not only in the southwest region but across the nation.
One of the things that people must always remember is that a project like this will come and it will eventually go, and not everybody will benefit to the same level. One of the things that people are expected to do when they have projects like this is to get involved. Get involved and participate. And I remember in some other discussions we were having somewhere that everybody will reach his or her own completion point at a different rate. For instance, you get to a village, you mobilize farmers, and you're working with them in a group. One person gets really committed or dedicated to the cause, and he or she may decide, work hard and establish 5 hectares. Another person may do just 1 or 2 hectares. But at the end of the day, when the project eventually ends, the benefits that are drawn from the project will be different from the two individuals. So some people will tell you that I did not see what I got, but the very next door, another person will outline to you a lot of benefits that they had. Recently, we were in my 14 to talk to farmers. We had some visitors who came from abroad, a team of journalists, and in a group of cassava farmers, there were people in less than 2 years are able to buy a plot for themselves. You know, my 14 is a village, but it's developing. People are buying plots and building houses. Many people are coming from different parts of the country and settling there. People who just work with the project only for 2 years, they have bought land. There are those who have changed the state of their houses, extending their houses. There are those who are able to send their children back to school, again with the schools that have started. So you see, people benefit from these initiatives in different ways.
The number of people who are affected by this serious problem of poverty,
yes,
and who are living below the poverty line is quite high. And
yes,
when you talk to Cameroonians, I'm sure you must have heard some of them saying that they're tired of projects, seminars, workshops, meetings, and all of these things that we're talking about.
Right.
And they just want to see food on their table.
Yeah, but sometimes some
money to treat themselves, to buy what?
You're absolutely right. For instance, if you build, I just talked to you about building 2 semi-industrial oil palm processing units. If you build that in a community and somebody who is living in that community does not have an oil palm, a palm farm, he will get virtually nothing from that, and he will see nothing good in it. He said that he has not seen what the project has done. But another person who has a farm, who has maybe 5-10 hectares of farm, and has been struggling to extract his palm oil with rudimentary equipment, and is getting less than 5-6% extraction rate. But now with this processing unit that has been put in place, can be sure to get 21% extraction rate. If you ask such a person, what have you benefited? He would tell you countless things that he has benefited. So these are the things people must get involved. And I personally, in my career, which spans more than 30 years, I have seen it. We have gone to villages and we are talking to people even before this crisis came. And you find even some of the young people, they are not interested. When you are preparing even the project, they are not interested. But it is later on that they get to realize.
What are you doing? That's the question they should be asking themselves.
Yeah.
You need to have something in your hands.
Yeah.
You need to do something to benefit from that project.
Absolutely.
Now, tell us about those who can benefit from this particular project.
We work mostly in rural areas. So everybody who is living in a rural area stands the chance to benefit from our activities. And we always, we encourage the farmers, those who are involved in agriculture, that they should be in groups, cooperatives or common initiative groups, because we cannot have enough personnel to address the individual problems or meet individual farmers. And so if they come maybe and they're talking farmers, they will be talking to them as a group. When they provide an equipment, it makes economic sense. Provide, for instance, 150 small cassava graters and press per week. You cannot give that to every woman. But if you have a group of women, 15 of them, they can benefit from such a machine. And it, like I said, it will make economic sense because the machine will be worked out for different persons, and not only just for the 15 members, even other women in the village who are involved in cassava production, they too will benefit. And so a person to the group that received the equipment might think that he or she is not benefiting. But the fact that you use that equipment, you are benefiting. Because otherwise you will not have had such a service in your village.
How far do you intend to, what do you intend to achieve for this year?
Well, for end of this year. End of this year we have a work program, and end of this year we are hoping, we started the construction of, we have been distributing planting material. We have a target for the various quantities of and types of crops that we have. We hope to meet that target.
That's it for today.